And hello, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio. This is Hurricane Ian Recovery Update Day number 7. And we have a great lineup of guests for you tonight. We have Sam Harvey from Fema coming up first, and we have Dane Eagle, who we just secured 5 minutes before showtime. And Dane is the Secretary of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. So it's going to be all about money tonight, everybody. So we're also going to check in with Dan Allers later on at the end of the program to get an update from Dan on how things are going on the ground at Fort Myers Beach. A couple of quick updates like we always do. We start off with an update from Fire Chief Ron Martin, who says the search is going well on the beach. And of course, the big question for everybody is, when can you get back on the beach? And we have no idea when you can get back on the beach. I see people asking about sound. I hope the sound is okay. If you guys can hear us, just give us a thumbs up. And I'm guessing that they were asking about sound before we actually went live. And he said that he'll have more of an update tomorrow, but it's going to be at least a couple more days before he can get on the beach. That's all he would say. He didn't say when. He didn't say give a hard date. He just said he'll have a better time frame on that tomorrow. And right now, the update for the fundraiser. Last night when we joined everybody at 6 o'clock, we gave the update at $118,000 in the first 5 days or 6 days. And now, as we close in on day number 7, we're up to $137,000. So all we could say is thank you all very much. Keep it coming, and we will keep passing it along and getting the money out. And the gift card idea, mailing the gift cards in the mail, was a great idea. Thank you very much. That's going very well, and we're going to have tons of those to give away when they arrive in the next few days. So let's get to our first guest, unless you have something you want to add.
No, I'm just waiting for you to let me get a word in.
All right. I see Sam is in the green room there. I don't know if he's ready, but maybe he'll hear us talking and we'll pop on. There he is. Sam looks like he's in a hotel somewhere here in Fort Myers.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm here in Fort Myers in Lee County. I'm actually from the Boston office, but came down here just for this response.
So, Sam, tell us.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry about that. He doesn't let me get a word in edgewise. So can you tell us what your title is and what you're doing?
Yeah, I am an individual assistance group supervisor, and I work here with FEMA. My main responsibility is to be the lead, the point person for individual assistance here in the branch. In our setup, that covers Lee County, Collier County, Charlotte County, and several others within Southwest Florida.
What exactly does FEMA provide to residents? I mean, obviously, a lot of the residents on Fort Myers Beach lost everything. They don't know where to turn. We're all trying to help them go from day to day and week to week. And what is FEMA's role in all that?
Yeah, the role of FEMA is varied. There are a lot of different types of assistance that are offered. Some that is more evident to individual survivors, some that is more evident to our state partners, just in terms of providing resources and providing finances. To survivors, particularly those down in Fort Myers Beach, those who may have had damage to their home or lost their home completely, there is assistance potentially available through FEMA, through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, in the form of housing assistance, housing repair assistance, rental assistance, and later down the road, additional types of help such as FEMA's direct housing, as well as collaboration with our partners from the Small Business Administration, who provide low-interest disaster loans to survivors. Those are just some of the higher level programs. Certainly, there's a lot more the further we get into the response and recovery.
When you said the FEMA's direct housing, is that what it was? What does that mean? What does that entail?
Yeah, that's a program, a type of assistance. It's a little further down the road, but it's something where FEMA actually can provide, whether it's a shorter term rental or in some cases, sort of the trailer type accommodations for folks that had a major damage or lost their home completely. Again, still a few steps away from that being an option, but it is something that is being considered.
So a lot of these folks have been told to stay off the island. They can't even diagnose what's wrong with their place. What should they do? I mean, they're they're helpless right now. They can't even get to their homes and assess the damage and just make the call now and say, I think my house is destroyed.
Yeah, it's up to each individual citizen. I mean, they have up to 30 days to be able to apply for FEMA assistance. Understanding that many of the folks in Fort Myers Beach are not able to return to really to assess the damage. But at some point, once it's safe for them to return, they'll be able to take a look, determine, did I have damage? Do I feel like I'm going to have losses that are not covered by insurance or that I can't cover on my own? And at that point, they can apply for FEMA. If they feel pretty confident at this point, though, that, I lived in a low-lying area, I lived right along the coast, I know that my neighborhood, my street was impacted, it's fine to apply for assistance right now. And then, once they're able to return, if there need to be adjustments or updates made to, their disaster claims, that's something that can be done at a later date.
Now you're in a hotel. Does FEMA have anything to do with helping folks that are displaced get into a hotel for temporary, or what temporary housing assistance can be provided? Because we're in an area that prior to this already had a significant few places where people could afford to live. And so now this is really putting a strain on those limited resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Disaster housing, no matter where in the country you are, is always a challenge. There is such a housing shortage, anywhere within the country. Some of the things that might be immediately available, I mentioned rental assistance, which is funding directly to that survivor. They could take that and find a temporary place to relocate. It doesn't have to be here within the county. It can be in an area where more housing is available until they're able to return and able to assess the damage. Also funding such as housing repair. If those survivors need to make temporary repairs to make that home livable, so at least they can get back in there, those funds may be available through FEMA. And then the other program that was just recently rolled out is through the Army Corps of Engineers, the Blue Roof program, which I think is certainly common in hurricane-prone areas. Survivors are, if they had damage to their roof, they can apply for this program, have that be assessed by the Army Corps of Engineers, and determine if their program putting on what is essentially a tarp onto the roof at least makes the home so that it's habitable, even if it's not completely repaired. But survivors might be able to get back into that home and then stay there while they're making longer and more permanent repairs.
So Sam, how long does the process take? I mean, these people are obviously, they're homeless. Really, they had a home one day and now their home's at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. Some are filing. I'm guessing a lot are filing. How much can they get? How long does the process take? When's the money going to be deposited in their bank, and what can they expect? I mean, are you steamrolling this process for them?
Yeah, so far we have just within Lee County, I think there's over 17,000 individuals and households that have applied for assistance. Now, the time frame for, from flash to bang, from when I apply to when I get money in my hand, it varies based on your individual situation and in the level of damage and other factors. It can be, our inspections are getting out there probably 3 to 5 days within after your application. And if everything goes smoothly, you can still look at probably another 7 to 10 days before you start to see funds coming directly to you. So, it's not an immediate turnaround, but the sooner that folks are able to apply and the more attention they pay to, making sure they're meeting the inspector, making sure all of their phone numbers, contact information are up to date, that really will help smooth out the process and get that assistance to the folks who need it in a more expeditious manner.
So Sam, let me just follow up on that. The storm is a week old. The residents haven't been allowed on the beach. Has FEMA been allowed on the beach? Like if somebody calls and says, I live on Denora Street, there's no street sign. Can the FEMA inspector get over the bridge, go find the house and confirm that that house is no longer there and then continue the process? Or does FEMA also have to wait to get over the bridge and assess the damage?
Yeah, FEMA is the same as any other resident, where if the local officials say it is not safe or is we're not able to allow folks onto the island, then we won't go there. We also wouldn't want to conduct an inspection at a site if that homeowner is not there or doesn't have access to it, because that conversation has to happen between an inspector and that homeowner, just to to be able to show the inspector the damage and come to some sort of an agreement on what is seen, as well as several other steps that occur during that inspection. So if the area is still not accessible, then the folks would not be able to have that inspection completed.
For folks who might not have access to a cell phone or a computer, is FEMA, I thought I saw that on a tweet, that they would be going into shelters and then going door to door. Is that something people can expect around here?
Yes, once it's safe to go back onto the Fort Myers Beach area, I would expect to see what we call our disaster survivor assistance teams, or DSA. Those are, as you alluded to, the boots on the ground, the folks who are going around the neighborhoods, going door to door, interacting with survivors, helping folks register if they need to, and really just trying to explain the process, what to expect next, or what you'll need to know. So yes, that's something that you would expect to see. But folks can also, even right now, go to the Lakes Library. It's a disaster recovery center. And I suspect we'll see others pop up within the county. So it's a physical space to go and interact with a FEMA member, with SBA, to register if you need to, or to follow up on any questions about your case.
So if the residents can't get over to see their homes and FEMA can't get over to do an inspection, even if they called, is it really fair for the 30-day clock to be running?
That's a consideration that certainly has been made. And what I suspect you'll see is the state of Florida will ask for an extension to that 30-day period. It's not at all uncommon, especially if there are extenuating circumstances, such as inaccessible areas. So I don't have any specific information on if there will be an extension, but I would not be surprised to see that 30-day registration window expanded.
Now, does FEMA cover only primary residences, or do they cover also secondary residences? And also, what about folks who live out of town but have a residence there and can't be there, to meet with your folks?
Yeah, so a couple questions there. FEMA only does cover primary residences. So if this was a secondary home, or if you have a location where you live more than 6 months out of the year in a different location, then it's unlikely that the damages in Fort Myers Beach would be covered by FEMA assistance. We do understand that many people have evacuated or moved to other areas temporarily. If they're unable to get back to meet with an inspector in a timely manner, they do have the ability to assign a neighbor, a friend, a family member, somebody else that might be in the area, to act on their behalf and to meet with that inspector. When they have that initial conversation with the inspector, that's something that they need to identify and say, hey, I need to identify a third party to meet you at my home to be able to verify the damages for me.
So why would FEMA deny anyone on Fort Myers Beach? What it looks like a nuclear bomb hit that island. I mean, what could cause somebody to be denied?
There are many reasons that an application might be delayed, denied, or for some reason not move forward. The most common reasons that we see tend to be because that homeowner had insurance that is going to cover the damage. FEMA is not able to duplicate insurance coverage. So if they had insurance for that particular damage that covers all of their unmet needs, that's the situation where you would see FEMA not continue to process that case. There are other scenarios where a homeowner is unable to prove ownership, unable to prove occupancy. Some of these processes that we have to go through to ensure that, yes, that person lived there, yes, that person is the owner. Sometimes those cannot be met and cause a survivor to be denied until they're able to show clear ownership or clear occupancy.
Now, when you're talking about folks who had insurance, a lot of folks might have had hurricane insurance, but not flood insurance. So is that where FEMA will bridge that gap?
Yeah, the insurance piece really is that whatever your insurance company is going to cover, that's really the initial discussion needs to happen between you, the homeowner, and your insurance company to say, hey, I had impacts from this storm, I had damages. So talking to the insurance company to say what will you cover, or conversely, what won't you cover? And if it turns out there is a gap between their level of damage and their level of coverage, then there may be a possibility for FEMA to bridge some of that gap. If the insurance is going to cover the entirety of the damages, then that's a scenario where you would see it unlikely that FEMA would provide additional assistance.
Got a question from one of our viewers. If insurance does not end up covering the cost, would FEMA modify, put it up on the screen, would FEMA modify a denied application to assist with that?
Potentially, yes. What we would ask of that particular survivor is to say, provide a statement from your insurance company that says, here is the amount that is covered, and then some sort of estimate that says, here is the extra amount that it's going to cost to do these repairs. And if there is that unmet need, then we can, potentially move forward with providing additional assistance to cover that gap. So yes, it is possible. It does take the extra step of just showing what the insurance is able to cover.
Someone was asking about rentals, and I know you covered about rent assistance. What about folks who rented and lost belongings and things? Does FEMA cover any of that stuff?
Yes, for folks that did not own their home but were renting their home, they would not be eligible for repairs to the home, repairs to the roof. However, if they lost personal property, and that could be anything from clothing to living room set to television, bedroom set, all of these things that they bought and paid for, they can still apply for FEMA assistance. And like I said, they wouldn't receive home repair, but they would still potentially be eligible for rental assistance because they have to find potentially a new place to live, or have additional costs such as that, but also potentially for the contents that were damaged or were lost. And that's something that when the inspector comes to that particular rental property, in the discussion with that survivor, they would say, my living room was damaged, my television was damaged, and the inspector would note that, and they could potentially be eligible for funds to help replace those.
We're going to go to some of the questions from our viewers because those are the folks that are really in the muck of all this, Sam. So Bill asks, is assistance income-based?
No, it is not. For the FEMA assistance, it doesn't matter if you make $0 or if you make $1 million. It's eligible to everybody without consideration for income.
Will FEMA help with deductibles? That's another question.
That is always a challenging question. No, the short answer is no. That directly helping with that deductible cost is not something that FEMA will consider as a gap in the coverage, because that is the responsibility of that homeowner, and that is the agreement between the homeowner and the insurance company.
Are you guys going to bring down temporary housing like they did in Punta Gorda years ago for that last big storm, so people can get out of these shelters and can stop spending their money on hotel rooms and live somewhere while they get ready to get back on the island and see what they can save? Yeah,
the direct housing, usually what people think about are, trailers, sort of mobile home type units. That is something that is being discussed. It's a discussion that happens sort of between the state and the FEMA. The state would have to make an official request for this particular brand of assistance. But I would caution everyone that, even once that program is approved, it takes a while just to get all of these units, identify them, bring them all the way down here, set them up, identify who is eligible, find a place to put them. So there are a lot of steps that go into that. It is not overly expedient. So just be patient if that's something that you hear about.
Well, yeah, we were talking earlier that the federal government can ship war materials over to Ukraine quite quick. It seemed like it would only be easy for them to ship some trailers down to Florida.
It's kind of
Yeah.
a rhetorical question.
It was a
Sorry
rhetorical
about that.
question, and I do understand the comparison and the frustration with that. And yeah, there are different mechanisms that work between, as you stated, shipping arms to other countries and shipping temporary housing within the country. If we had the budget of the Department of Defense, maybe you'd find things are very different. But this is the system in which we live, and it's what we have to deal with.
On the housing, on the temporary housing, is there a cost for folks that are in that direct housing situation?
No, not to the individual survivor. The direct housing is provided at no cost to that survivor. All the cost is borne on the FEMA side in terms of moving the unit down here, setting it up, getting it placed, and moving that individual or family into the unit.
What about on a monthly? It's covered on a monthly basis as well? Like they're not going to pay rent?
Correct. They would not pay rent. Okay. I think the program is eligible for up to 18 months. That would be the extent of how long they could stay there. But no, there would not be a rent or any sort of additional cost associated with that assistance.
So it's an 18-month program, because I believe when they were up in Punta Gorda, it went on longer than that, if I'm not mistaken.
It's possible. Again, this is something where the state could request an extension on it. As the program is written, it's written as an 18-month assistance period.
Okay.
Let's take some more questions from our viewing audience. Lisa wants to know, how does a family member apply on behalf of a single elderly family member who passed away and whose home was destroyed?
So a couple of considerations there. If the family member did incur expenses due to a burial or other ceremonies associated with the death of a loved one, that is something that they could apply to FEMA for assistance, and there is specific assistance for funerals. So that individual does have that avenue. In terms of applying on behalf of the deceased, you would have to be a sort of one-on-one discussion between, were there other family members that were living there that could apply on that individual's behalf? I would definitely take that question more specifically to a disaster recovery center, or talk to the helpline and find out the specific scenario and what the specific steps to go forward with that. But the family member could, under their own application, even if that's their only expense, could apply for funeral assistance.
All right, let's go to Joanne, who says or asks, how does all this differ for condo associations? A lot of condos down on the beach.
There are. So condos are always a unique element. It depends a fair bit on the condo association. So in most associations, that body is responsible for doing the repairs to, I think the tradition is anything from the walls out. So a condo association, again, in general, should be responsible for fixing the walls, fixing the roof. Now, if there's damage to the interior, that condo owner would apply to FEMA and say, hey, these are my costs. Here is a copy of the condo association agreement that shows I am responsible for repairing the walls. I am responsible for repairing the floors and the drywall. And therefore, that individual could potentially receive assistance for that damage.
So of the 17,000 that you mentioned, 17,000 applications that have been filed already from Lee County, A, do you know how many are from Fort Myers Beach? And B, do you know how many overall have already been approved?
I don't have specifics for Fort Myers Beach. We really look at it on a county by county level. Generally, we don't go down to the municipal level unless there is a specific ask from one of our partners. In terms of the percentage that has been approved, we're still very early in the process, so I don't know that those numbers have been made available.
Have any other questions, Pierre? Is
So,
FEMA a grant or a loan, or is it? That's a good question from Debbie.
That is a good question. These are grants. They are not considered income. This is not something on which you would have to pay taxes. So it's money directly into the hands of the survivors. That's specific. I'm specifically referring to rental assistance, housing repair, and for the personal property I mentioned.
Oh, so this will have to be paid back?
No, this is
Oh,
a
okay.
grant. Yeah, there's
I
no
gotcha.
repayment. There's no taxation on it. It's a grant directly to the homeowner or renter.
Gotcha.
can you go down? And just to reiterate, it has to be your primary residence. All right. And then someone was asking about rental reimbursement. So could they get reimbursed for their rental costs? Is that how that rental assistance works?
Rental assistance is more specifically if you are no longer able to stay in your rental or even in your home, you could then be eligible for rental assistance. The idea being that you would take that rental assistance, you would find another place to rent. Now, if you were a renter, usually that money is just going to go into first, last security deposit. And then you would be expected to continue to pay your own rent as you had been before. If you're a homeowner, that money is taken and it can continue for month to month if you continue to have to rent while you're displaced.
So, Sam, how do they calculate? Like, if somebody's house is worth $1 million and it's pretty much squashed. It's on. You can't live in it. How do you determine what to give somebody whose house was worth $1 million? What are they going to get from you?
Yeah, so every year, every state in the country has this discussion with their FEMA region to say, here's how much a square foot of drywall. Every square foot that's damaged, you get X amount. Here's how much a TV is worth, or a living room set, or a square footage of roof. So all of those calculations are done in advance every year in every state, so that when a disaster does occur, that inspector is going to go out and say, okay, there were 50 feet of drywall, there was 100 square feet of roof that were damaged, and that will be used to tabulate what the award amount might be. Now, I can tell you that the assistance for housing repair is capped. It's a fairly modest amount in the grand scheme of things, especially if you're looking at the cost of an entire house. It's a little under $38,000 would be the max award for home repair.
Okay. All right. So is it last question? Should people call or go online? What's going to be the fastest way for them to apply and get money?
Yeah, my recommendation and what I would strongly encourage is for people to go online if they have that ability. Go to disasterassistance.gov and apply through our portal. You can also download the FEMA app and apply that way. There are a couple of reasons. Calling into the 800 number, we have probably over 1 million folks who were impacted across the state of Florida. We're also on the heels of a very large hurricane that went through Puerto Rico. So the call center, there are backups. It's just a long wait, even to register, even to ask a simple question. So I would strongly encourage people to go to disasterassistance.gov and apply that way, or to download the FEMA app and apply through that.
All right, Sam, thanks so much for coming on, and we hope to have you back on as this thing moves along. We really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming to Fort Myers.
Well, I appreciate the forum. Keep up the great work, and thank you for helping me get the word out to your listeners.
Thanks a lot. Sam Harvey from FEMA. And by the way, folks, if you do need an attorney to help you get through the process, we know somebody that can help you. There's no kickback or there's nothing like that. She reached out to us because we're friends and we've used her before. And if you want it, just email me and we're happy to pass that name along to you. Right now, joining us is Dane Eagle, the Secretary of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. And Dane, it's great to see you again.
Good to see you both. Where are you staying? I know you've lost everything. How are you holding up?
Well, we are fine. We actually live out in Gateway, so we just truck in. We're kind of adoptees of the beach,
So
but
you
yeah,
lost your studio. Okay. I
Yes,
thought
yes,
yeah,
yes,
we
in the
lost the
restaurant.
studio, but nothing compared to, as I'm sure you have seen, the devastation that has occurred down there. But thank you so much for joining us, because I'm
Yeah.
sure you're very busy.
So, Dane, what is your role in your department as far as helping out the people in, specifically for us, Fort Myers Beach, but Florida in general?
Yeah. So Department of Economic Opportunity, I'm the secretary appointed by Governor DeSantis, and he's assembled his entire executive team to be boots on the ground. And we're all here, and we will be for the foreseeable future, to make sure that we're assisting. We assist with economic recovery. So, of course, right now, and over the last week, it's been search and rescue, making sure basic needs are provided, infrastructure is stable, some public safety. Now it's quickly turning into recovery, and economic recovery is, of course, a very big piece of that. And that's where we step in. In Blue Sky Days, we assist people, businesses, and communities find economic opportunity. We help people find jobs. We help businesses cut red tape and thrive. And we help communities with the infrastructure they need to be economically solvent. That's especially important during a hurricane. All of the communities need all three of those things right now. So that's what we're providing. And more specifically, we're helping with unemployment assistance. DUA, the governor, has initiated. You can find more at floridadisaster.biz, disaster unemployment assistance. It's short-term look. We realize people are without work through no fault of their own. So you can apply for that. We're cutting red tape, waiting week, work search registration. But we want to help you find a job, because that is temporary and you might be displaced now. And we want to help you connect. And there are people that are hiring. So that's important. And then we're doing bridge loans. The governor has initiated $50 million for businesses to be able to connect with capital to help them get back on their feet. It's 0% interest, short-term loans. Again, floridadisaster.biz. That was announced yesterday. So we want to be able to help you get capital to help pay your employees, help fix your building, help rebuild. So that's a few of the things that we're doing as we speak. But it's going to be long-term, and we're here to help.
So for the unemployment resources, I had a friend who filled that out. Now, luckily, her stuff wasn't damaged. She had the forms like the W-2s available. That is not going to be the case for a vast majority of folks, down on the beach and Sanibel, Pine, all the areas that were hardest hit.
Yeah.
What accommodations, what is your office doing to help those folks out? That, I mean, I don't know if some of these people even were able to grab their social security card or any, identification.
So the good news is we also work at Department of Revenue to be able to get a lot of that information automatically. So if you filed your taxes, we're working to make sure we can pull some of that. We work with your former or hopefully current employer, if they're still up and running, to connect with your wages. So we can do a lot of that automatically, but we realize that's tough. So the good news is we're here in person. We have shipped dozens of people from Tallahassee. They are now Southwest Florida residents for some time coming, and we're located at Lakes Library off Bass Road, not too far from the beach.
Yep.
DEO helped organize that with Jimmy Petronas. We've got the Insurance Village there. We've got DEO. We've got Career Source to help you connect with a job. We've got DBPR to help with licensing issues for workers, DCF for other needs that people have. We're here, and the governor is going to make sure we're here and as long as we need to be.
I think the governor and the state, that they've been doing such a great job. The frustration on Fort Myers Beach, you see the Sanibel Bridge is moving along with repairs, and Pine Island, they're making repairs, and the people of Fort Myers Beach can't even get back on the island. It's the biggest frustration. The communication is not great over there, and nobody can get over there to take advantage of the $50 million loans. I mean, do you see what's going on there?
Yeah. So look, I'm from here. I'm born and raised in Southwest Florida. Grew up in Cape Coral, but Fort Myers Beach, it wasn't necessarily home, but that's where I went on weekends, and had birthdays there as long as I can remember growing up. And I was able to go on the beach, and it's like a bomb was dropped, and it is heartbreaking. Yep. It is awful, and we're going to rebuild. It's going to take time, but we're going to do it together. There is the county obviously is overseeing a lot of the missions, and they're doing a great job. They have limited resources, so the state steps in, the feds step in to help. But on Fort Myers Beach, you also have a jurisdiction, and I don't quite, from my position, know the difference between what the local mayor or council are doing versus what the Sanibel mayor or council are doing. But what I can tell you is our focus from The state perspective, from the governor's perspective, is people have a right to be at their homes, and we're going to help clean up so that you can get to your home. So we're working on it.
When you were talking a couple of days ago at the county meeting, and you mentioned about one of the things you were doing is making sure the supply chain was moving. I mean, that's been an issue before this happened.
Yeah.
So what is your office doing to making sure or helping in that effort?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Supply chain has been an issue for quite some time now, and the state of Florida has done everything we could to make sure that at least the issues coming from the federal government are insulated in Florida, and we're not immune to all of it. But the governor's leadership in economic recovery, and we've had been able to help him with that through DEO, has been amazing. 2.7% unemployment rate compared to 3.7 at the national level. Obviously now we've got an issue in Southwest Florida, but we'll bounce back. We're going to help people find jobs. But the supply chain too, through DEO, the governor has a job growth grant fund where we have been working to make sure that people are, a lot of people come out of high school and they go into college and have debt, and then they come out with a degree that they can't find a job. So we are working very hard in Florida to help people find gainful employment right out of high school. You can make six figures driving a truck. So we've invested a lot in that. And actually, the great news is a lot of those programs that we stood up over the past 6 months, year, 2 years, we shipped them down out of Tallahassee right after the storm to help connect them with transportation opportunities. They're working in this recovery effort and newly trained to do so. That's pretty cool. And then we're also working with Publix, Walmart, you name it, to make sure the supplies are here, fuel, electricity. We're making sure the basic needs are available.
When you're talking about people going back to work, some people may have to change careers. Is your office going to help? Is that one of the things that you will do to help retrain people, get them into these trades that are really high paying and going to be in great demand for the near future?
Exactly. That is exactly what we do. We do it in partnership with CareerSource. They're a public-private partnership with DEO through the state, and they have training availabilities. They connect with vocational schools, state colleges. We've invested a lot in that through DEO, through Department of Education, through CareerSource. And the good news is we're ready to help people get trained. If you are in the hospitality business and you want to stay there, we'll help you find a job. If you want to go try something new, let's talk and let's help you find that career that you're looking for.
So, Dane, you mentioned $50 million before that the state was putting into, I think, mostly help businesses in Lee County, correct?
It is statewide. Obviously, we know Lee County's got is hurt the most, but we've also got inland counties. I was in Harvey County with the governor Saturday. Flooding there's immense. The roads are washed out, so they've got issues there too. Central Florida, south of here, north of here, northeast Florida. It's a big storm. It's first come, first serve. But look, we're gonna once that's if that's used up, we'll look to do more. But I want to encourage Lee County businesses to go apply soon so that they can take advantage of it.
Well, that was what my question was going to be. You have $50 million, which sounds like a lot, but I mean, with a lot of people now wanting to dip into that pot, the Fort Myers beach businesses can't even. They're like everyone else has a head start on them because they're waiting on the other side of the bridge. I know one of the restaurant owners who, luckily, some of his structure is still standing. He's got contractors ready to go. He can't even go over there to, then they got to go through the whole assessment. It just sounds like that 50 million is going to be gone by the time they even know what to ask for. And when they do ask for it, let's say there is money there. Is there a cap?
I'll have to get the details on the cap. I believe there is. I know in COVID, I think we did $50,000 per loan. I'll have to double check that. And look, we're going to make sure that people have what they need. We have the largest budget surplus in the history of the state, $20 billion, excuse me. And the governor, we've been able to do that because of strong fiscal accountability and for rainy days. And this is one hell of a rainy day. So we're going to make sure that people have what they need. If that $50 million goes, we'll talk with the governor, and I'm sure he'll be happy to do more. But let's see what happens now.
Is the first step for businesses to go on that FloridaDisaster.biz and file that business damage assessment survey?
Thanks for bringing that up. That's what helped trigger the bridge loan. And yes, we want to ask you to continue to do so because that will help us. Like you said, Ed, is $50 million may not be a lot of money. So if people continue to do that survey, it's a voluntary survey. Just report to us what you think your losses are, so we can look within our resources, working with the county, the state, and the federal government, and try to do more. So yes, please go on, first thing you could do is that survey, and then you can apply for the bridge loan, and then we'll keep working to do more.
Should
When
they
you
do
say,
it?
let me just ask follow up. When you say what they think the damages are, does that mean they could do it if they haven't been able to get down there?
Yeah, you could do an estimate.
Perfect.
We're not saying, to the dollar, tell us what you think. Do a range. If you think it's a total loss, tell us what you think it is, and we'll work with you.
Well, at the least, everyone's seen pictures, so they can at least see the pictures from it. And so that advice for everybody that has a business is to apply for it now, even if you haven't even been down there, because there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling us you're from the beach, we're pretty sure you're hurting, so we want to help.
Yeah. So we've heard from, this is why we have this campaign going. We've raised $137,000 so far for the people on the beach. Did you mention somewhere for them to go that, they're out of work, they have no house, and they're waiting. They're kind of waiting to see what happens.
Right.
If they need money, like to get them through the next week or so, is that your department or not really?
So that would start with FEMA. We obviously do have DUA. So yes, go on. Same thing. FloridaDisaster.biz. DUA is Disaster and Employment Assistance. Go ahead and apply. If you're out of work, you're out of work through no fault of your own. We want to step in and assist. Short term, or it's not permanent. So go ahead and do that. File for the Disaster and Employment Assistance. If you can't do it online at FloridaDisaster.biz, come see us at Lakes Library. We'll get you set up. But then yes, let's help you connect with a job. It's short term, so let's not wait. If you think you're ready to go back to work, you don't want to be sitting around, you want to help, you want to contribute, then come talk to us through our office or with Career Source, who is also stationed at Lakes Library. And let's help connect you with a job or train you to find another job. Happy to do so. That's what we're here to do.
If people have questions about filling out their application, and I asked because the person that I know that went to fill it out said there was a portion that said, when you were working and when you left. And she's like, well, I haven't left my job. I'm just out of work temporarily. So, for people that have questions about the application, would they go to the Lakes? I mean, I'm sure the phone is going to be not good because it's going to be backed up, but they would go to the library to get those questions answered.
Yeah, we do have a phone number. I'll give it to you. And the great news about this too is we have a lot of people stepping in to assist. New Mexico has volunteered some of their Department of Labor, type employees to help assist with the phone line. So that number is 800-385-3920, 1-800-385-3920. Yes, there's going to be a lot of people calling, so you may not get in right away, but if you got time to hold, we'll help you. And if you don't want to wait on the phone, yes, we have dozens of people at Lakes Library ready to assist.
Dane, last time we saw you was when we were interviewing you for the race you were running.
Yeah.
You were on Fort Myers Beach, and you said you had a chance to take a tour of the beach. Now, what were your thoughts when you saw what you saw?
Heartbroken. I can remember getting ice cream at that Dairy Queen as early as 5 years old right there in Times Square. Throughout the 80s, we would stay at the Bel Air Beach Club and do the boat races for my birthday in May every year. Did my high school reunion there, my 10-year reunion, my 30th birthday. The beach was my, I hate to say was, because we're going to bounce back, but it's hurting right now. So it's a special place in my heart, and we're going to help rebuild.
There's a lot of people that are at shelters, and that you take the phone call and you could just hear it in their voice. Can you give them some hope?
Yes, we are here to help. You're not going to be left behind. You're not going to be forgotten. I was with the governor at one of the shelters, and my heart is broken for the people there that have lost everything. But we're going to help. Government can't do everything for you, and I think you know that. But we are going to assist you get back on your feet. You got to make that first step, but we're going to be there to help you, and the governor's not going to forget about you.
Dane, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We appreciate what you're doing and what the governor's doing, what the state's doing for Florida. Thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Dane Eagle, everybody. We appreciate that. And we are going to try and check in with Dan Allers down on Fort Myers Beach right now and get it.
That they both gave out some really good.
Oh, yeah, it was great. Both of them were awesome.
Yes.
And
I appreciate them both joining us tonight. That was really great.
A lot of good resources. And as you heard from Dane, a lot of things going on at Lakes Park. And that's in a lot of the press releases that we get. Lakes Library. Isn't that at Lakes Park? Oh, where is Lakes Library?
That's right.
All right. Let's see what Dan is up to. You got to have your headphones for Dan, because we got the whole new mechanism going again, I think.
If someone wants to look up the address, Sue Ryan, for Lakes Library, that would be great.
Got the wrong one to pot it up. Dan, are you with us?
I am.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there he is, fresh boots on the ground there. Councilman Dan Allers, who's been really in the sand on the beach from the beginning, and we always appreciate his time. And Dan, first of all, how are you holding up?
Good. You get better every day, and it's like you become numb after you see it day after day, and you just kind of become numb. So now we're focusing on the future. We're focusing on getting the island open back up, and excited about what the future is going to bring.
Before we get to the questions of kind of update things, let everybody know about the drop-off point with the supplies and how that's going, and the hours, and everything that's going on at that location at 820 Buttonwood.
So Island Carts has we've emptied out all of our carts out of the building. They were destroyed like everything else in the flood. So we've cleared that out. We've turned our 3,500 square foot space into a donation receiving area, if you will, for anybody that's sending down donations, because we have a loading dock, we have a ramp to be able to get stuff in. So we're taking all this stuff that is coming in. We're using a box truck that was donated to us by Bone Painting to be able to distribute stuff out to Kiwanis, to anybody that needs it. People are welcome to come into the address. Again, as you said, it's 820 Buttonwood Drive on San Carlos Island. It's Fort Myers Beach, but it's on San Carlos Island. So if people need stuff, they can come in there. There's somebody there every day from 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday. Sundays, we're going to try to recuperate on Sunday, let everybody, recharge. We've got a lot of volunteers that are in there every day. Home Depot donated some shelves today that were delivered and set up by the volunteers. So we're able to organize and stack stuff. We're going to keep receiving all these truckloads of stuff that are coming in that people are so generously donating. And if anybody needs anything, reach out. I believe I gave you the number earlier, Ed, for Sandy. As far as volunteering goes, you touch base with her, and get her number out there. Anybody that wants to volunteer, come and help, either receive or load up, or anything that they're willing to do. Sandy will put you to work.
And Sandy's number is 239-567-5487. Sue, 239-567-5487, and that's for anybody that wants to volunteer.
As far as things that are coming in besides food, blankets, our power tools, that kind of stuff coming in.
We haven't seen a lot of power tools yet. We obviously have a lot of water. I just spoke earlier to a gentleman out of Ohio. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I got it written down, but he's coming, I think, on Monday or Tuesday. He said he's got a full trailer full of just water. He said he's got 20 cases of water, so we got a lot of water coming. We have some paper goods. We have stuff like that. It seems like where we're at now, people that are walking in, bedding, pillows, didn't even think about this till today, but people that want pillows, they want a blanket, they want some sheets, they want things like that. Shovels are going to be needed, tarps, anything that you could do to clean up bags, construction bags, rakes, anything to help clean up. Because the sooner we can get this cleaned up, obviously, the sooner we can start to rebuild.
So, Dan, Joanne asks, and I don't know if you know the answer yet. Can you please ask Dan if he knows if condo associations are eligible for free debris removal post-Ian? If yes, how does one apply?
So today, how FEMA works, my understanding is, obviously the debris removal is the most expensive thing. It's very costly, and if it's not done right, if it's not done timely, it could quite frankly bankrupt the town. So originally it's 30 days through FEMA. Is now extended to 60 days. At the press conference today, President Biden actually turned, if you watch, and kind of looked at Governor DeSantis and said, you're going to need 90 or 120 days on this. So we're pushing and hoping we can get to the 120 days for the relief, so that you can execute these contracts. We can get this debris cleaned up, because it's going to be very, very, very expensive. Not just on Fort Myers Beach, it's Sanibel. All of Lee County has a massive, massive cleanup. So to try to get everything done within 30 days is very, very difficult. So we're thankful for Congressman Donalds, for Governor DeSantis, for all of Lee County commissioners, for President Biden, everybody working together, putting everything aside, what doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, working
Right.
together to get this cleaned up and make sure that everything keeps going the way the way it was before we got hit.
A couple of people have asked, I don't know if you've been over the bridge, but if you have, can you tell us what's going on over there with the residents at this point, the ones who have stayed on the island?
So the residents that I've come in contact with on the island, yesterday I brought, some food that had shared with me some people that were contacting him that needed food and water. It is a mandatory lockdown. I know there's a lot of rumors out there
There are.
that have been going on that they're condemning houses. That is not the case. There's no bulldozers on the island bulldozing any houses. USAR teams are not kicking down doors. What are some of the other myths that are out there that are people floating around? There's people saying that they've heard that people are going to be allowed back on the island tomorrow. That is not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Cars or people walking. They're still finishing up. So today on the island, what I noticed is there was probably 100 or so, give or take, FP&L trucks staging across the street from Lani Kai, where Yo Taco and that parking lot and Root Shrimp were. They were all kind of staged there. There's the debris trucks. I don't know if anybody saw them today that maybe came down towards San Carlos Island, but those big semi-looking trucks with the big box, and they have the trailer behind it with the big picking thing.
Mhm.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you just for this comment from Tammy. We have a family in need of food in the middle of the island. They're being threatened if they're seen. They will be removed from the island. We tried to bring food and supplies to them yesterday to meet at the bottom of the bridge, and we were denied. The residents were told if he came to get us food and supplies, he would not be allowed back. We are hearing a lot of that. Even if people want to go over to town hall where they have the world kitchen and the showers. I thought there were showers. I mean, what is the rule?
Can you repeat what you said? Her comment. You said who would be removed? Myself?
No, the people that are looking for food. Right? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I did hear that yesterday when I was bringing some water and food to people that don't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to go in their house and force them to leave. They do not want people on the road. They do not want people moving around. I kind of got some confirmation on that today because they have dogs out there that are still sniffing. You drive down the boulevard, you still see them everywhere. They're kind of running freely. So it's not necessary. It's for the protection of the dogs. Obviously, it's for the teams to be able to finish up what they need to do. But the fact that I saw today that, we're starting to see more kind of preparation, if you will, for the next step, I think is very encouraging with FP&L on there. We're still a bunch of search and rescue. Obviously, the police department, the county sheriffs, all these other places from all over the state are still out there. So we're inching closer to be able to get to the next step, which is obviously the cleanup and getting people back on the island to be able to, get to their homes and see what they've got. But I know I've said this 1,000 times on your show and several other shows. It's right now there's literally nothing, as you've seen from people that are sending in requests that they have nothing. There's no plumbing. There's no, as of this morning, I sent you the information that the sewer system is now not working. So even if you have water that you're scooping out of your pool or finding water somewhere to dump in the toilet to use the toilet, that system is now failing. So
right. They really shouldn't be on the island.
Yeah,
really shouldn't be on there.
Even if you could get back on the island, it's
inhabitable.
There is literally it's 100% right. It's and until we can get some of this debris out of the way, and even if you could get on the island, you saw it firsthand, Ed. There was so much debris on the side streets and on Estero Boulevard. When it was plowed, now all that debris is in front of your home. People, before they closed the bridge down, before the bridge was closed down, you had to literally climb over people's roofs and homes just to try to get to your house. It's not a safe environment for people to. It's still bad, but they're nearing the end. My understanding of the search and rescue, I don't know exactly when that will be, but I don't know if you heard the stat. So they were about 23% done with the search and rescue before the bridge was closed to residents coming back on. In one day, that went from 23% to over 90%
Mm-hmm.
for the first initial search. That's a
Right.
big gap. And that's just because they had the ability to move around. I mean, these trucks aren't small. It's not like they're running around in side by side four-wheelers. They're running around in big trucks. And if they do find something, the cavalry comes in. You've got ambulance, you've
Right.
got heavy
Dan,
equipment, you've got
just I don't think anybody, any of the residents or any of the people that have property down there are arguing any of that. They know that the search and rescue teams are doing their job and that it's detailed and that it's important, and everybody wants their friends and neighbors to be found. I think the majority of what people see is they see this giant press conference with the president and the governor and the town council and state people right at the base of the bridge, and they're talking about how Pine Island is being fixed and the Sanibel Bridge is on they'll be done by October, and they're talking about this, and the people on Fort Myers Beach have no clue when they'll be allowed, and nobody is telling them when, or at least giving them an estimate when, or at least, Sanibel is having 6:30 p.m. nightly Facebook live meetings with the residents in the room. You see what I'm saying?
So
It just seems a
I-
little bit bizarre to them.
So here's what I'm going to. I asked all these specific questions today. I met with Roger this morning, and talked about. I said, can I get some answers as to what I can tell people when they can come back on the island? Right now, the town of Fort Myers Beach, we have to wait for USAR, Urban Search and Rescue, to give the all clear, for them to be able to finish. Once that's done, that's when the cleanup can start. Now, what we're hoping that can happen is as they clear these zones and say, this zone is good, this zone is clear, we can get in there, we can make the right of way clear so people can get into their homes, so people can come back. It may not be all at once. It may be a section at a time. We're not exactly sure how that's going to work out yet. I understand people see that Sanibel residents are going back and people are. I don't want to make excuses. You know me, Ed. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm trying to get the answers the best that I can. I don't know that there's any definitive answer yet. Sanibel's a little bit different. Everything falls under, whether it's fire and police, that all falls under one person. Here we've got, a town manager whose job is to manage the town, but he doesn't manage the fire department. He doesn't manage the police department. He doesn't manage the USAR. So you've got all these entities that have to communicate to each other to try to speed this up as best they can. And it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's not an excuse. I did ask about having meetings. I was told that we have to have them properly noticed before we can have a meeting, before we can get some information out. I'm pushing to get some sort of meeting so that we can, get out something. I'm sharing everything that I know, so it would be regurgitating essentially what I'm telling you. But now I'm under the assumption I asked that, there's rumors out there that it's going to be months before people can get back on the island. That I did not get that information today. I could not get a specific date. As of now, I'm going to still tell people that we're working on the same path of, Saturday, Sunday. That would be about the week. If that changes, I'll be the first one to tell you, whether it's shorter, whether it's longer. But as of now, that's really the only information I can tell you as far as when people can get back on. I've had people reach out that will want to book airline tickets to get down there, to give you a specific date. Unfortunately, until Search and Rescue tells us they have done the best that they can, they've searched as best they can, and they give us the green light, we are literally in a holding pattern to be able to start the debris cleanup to get people back on there. Now the town is still working on utilities. They're still being allowed to be able to do that. So there's still town work being done in the background, but that doesn't alleviate, the people that want to get back on the island to save what they can save. But the more that we could tell people that there's nobody kicking in your doors, there's nobody bulldozing or condemning your house.
But Dan, on the answer that you gave about public notice for meetings, I'm guessing that must have come from the town attorney or the town manager. But Sanibel is calling Facebook Live meetings the day of. I mean, come on. I know that's not you. I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense.
I can't, I didn't get a lot of, I wasn't able to have a one-on-one with the governor today to ask him specifically, what can we do, as far as having a meeting, or what are the rules under emergency orders? Can we, do we have, does there, I don't know. And I hate saying that. This is the worst thing I want to say is I don't know, but I don't know that, and our charter, I can't call a meeting, Bill can't call a meeting, Jim can't call a meeting. An emergency meeting can only be called by 2 people in our charter. And as of right now, there's not enough information or I'm sharing with you everything that I can share.
Yes, and we
everything,
appreciate
everything
that.
and in a meeting, you would hear the exact same thing that I'm telling you, maybe a little more delicate than the way I'm saying it, but it would be the same information. People need to know that there's not a council member that doesn't want to get people back on the island. There's not, the town manager doesn't want to keep people off the island any longer than we have to, but we literally are in a position where we have to wait for the USAR to finish their job before we can start to even get people back over that bridge.
Dan, do when they were sand plowing Estero and working on the sides, have they done the side streets with that plowing stuff, or is it just okay?
Yeah. Okay. So within a day and a half, all of Estero Boulevard was completely plowed up. Then they started on the side streets. I think up until like the 3rd day, there was maybe 6 streets that were left that had such major debris that they needed really heavy equipment to come in and not just plow it off to the side, but actually had to pick it up and get it off there. So that was priority number 1, clear the path for search and rescue to get in. Priority number 2 is now the search and rescue. Once search and rescue is done, then we go to what I think is priority number 3, and that's cleaning the debris off the road, the right-of-ways, so that when you do get to your house and you have to start cleaning it out and throwing it to the street, there's a place to throw it. Right now, you've got no place to throw it. There's so much debris that until that's out of the way, you don't have a chance to bring your stuff out. And the way that it's set up is, like as I told you at the beginning, there's 30, and then now it's at the 60 days reimbursement for the cleanup. It's very time sensitive to be able to get that cleaned up because it's very, very expensive. And if the town can't get that cleaned up, the town doesn't get reimbursed.
Right.
And that could, that's very expensive. It could bankrupt the town. So these are all things that in order for people to have a place to come back to, we got to make sure they can get to it. But that doesn't mean that you have to keep people off the island either. I think they can work in harmony. Now that may be just coming over the bridge, to be able, like before, to be able to get to your house, secure your belongings, get you on and off the island, not bring in construction equipment or anything like that at the first phase. I don't know that yet. I'm still, as we get closer to finishing up the search and rescue, we'll have a better idea of what that is. But I promise you, I'm there every day. I'm doing what I can to get the information I can to get to you.
Right.
And
so
I would love nothing more than to see a parade of people coming over that bridge to get to their homes.
Well, to that point, who's responsible for deciding whether, when it's open, if the floodgates are open and everybody comes over, or whether it'll be a staged entry? Because I can't imagine what I saw, them, the cars being, where are you going to put the cars that you're bringing on? So,
I'm taking an educated guess here, and I think that it's going to be some sort of staged, and this is just my opinion. It's not anything official.
Right.
I think it's based on, like you just said, what you see on the island as far as the debris and the removal of the sand. Just the sand alone has to be picked up, moved to another location, sifted, get all the stuff out of it before it can even be returned back to the beach. That in itself is a process because you're moving things 3 times, right?
Yeah.
So as you saw, there's no place to park a car. There's no place to put a trailer, construction trailer. You literally have no space. So we have to get that debris out of the way so that you can save the things that you want to save. Every single council member, Roger, everybody lost everything.
Right.
Everybody lost their home.
Is that a town council decision though? Is that who?
Yeah, who
is
decides
that the entity that decides how this is going to happen?
So once the search, my understanding is once the search and rescue is done, and they give the all green light, then the town has decision making capability. Now we can get dirt moved. We can decide what's the best way to get the people back on. And now we can, but we really have to wait for search and rescue to finish before we can make any of those decisions. And I know that's probably not what
Together,
people
right?
want.
And the sheriff's department said, if I read what Anita from the PIO office said, the sheriff's department said it was the town's decision to close the island, not Lee County's decision, not the sheriff's decision. She said, I believe it was in the newspaper today or one of the TV stations, that it was the town's decision to close the island. Maybe that was.
It was definitely not the sheriff's office to close the island.
Okay.
Their job is to make sure that whatever decision that was is to enforce that decision, make sure there's no looters.
Got it.
To make sure, the decision was made based on information from fire and rescue with a conversation with Roger. They told the town that they needed, and this is not a blame thing. This is what, in my opinion, should happen, or should, I agree with the decision.
Right.
Because you saw the debris, I saw the debris, I saw the bodies, I've seen it all. And I think that was the right decision to allow these people to do their job, to get as many people out as possible and give as much closure as possible. So the decision was made, whether you want to say it was the towns or you want to say it was the fire departments or you want to say it was US, it was a collective decision made to close the island for the best interest of the safety of the people trying to come onto the island and the workers trying to do their job.
Well, Dan, well, it's all we've been doing is putting you on the spot, but I
don't mind.
At least he's answering the questions to the best of his ability, and he's answering the questions. I sent a text to the Fort Myers Beach Public Information Officer, and my question was, when is the town council going to hold a press conference or a meeting? Is that a fair question?
I think it's a good question. I asked the same question.
And the answer from the PIO from the Fort Myers Beach town was, what would you like to know from a press conference or a meeting?
Well, you're asking me a question?
I don't think I am asking you a question. I think there are a lot of questions that the town residents are asking, and you know them, and I don't want to harp on it. I think that I've said it from the beginning. I just think one meeting won't make them feel great, but at least it'll make them feel like, okay, we're in charge here. Here's the plan. Here's what, here's what we're saying. Here's what we're doing. And here's what we're waiting for. And it just, to me, the whole photo op with the president and the thing, and it just rubs me the wrong way that nobody's speaking directly to the residents. That's all, but I could be wrong.
Appreciate, I can appreciate it. If I had my way, and I'm speaking frankly, and this is nothing against any fellow council members, nothing against town staff. It's not. If I had my ways, I would certainly at least get everyone together to show a united front that we are still here, we are still working. I'm doing my best to get the information out as best I can, and I know other council members are trying to do the exact same thing. But I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree that having a united front and saying, even if it's the same information you already know or you say here, I think it's important that the public sees its elected officials together and say, this is where we're at, this is where we're going, this is how we're going to try to get there. We will keep updating you. I don't think that's a bad thing. And this is nothing against any of my council members. This is just what I would do, and I'm speaking for myself.
So Nancy Walker makes a good point, and this is what I was getting to, is about her point was, can the PIO or someone make a Facebook page and do a Facebook meeting where residents could talk or can get
the
answers?
town has their own page. She could do it right there on the town's page.
Well, that would be one thing, a live meeting. Or should people, is it reasonable for people with the multitude of questions that they have, send those in via email? It just seems like it would be easier to answer them all in one fell swoop, because I imagine a lot of them are going to be similar questions.
Yeah, they are. And, the majority of the questions that I get are about things that aren't true, like the condemning of the houses, or, rumors get started very easily. It's, and then they grow legs and they go. I know I keep regurgitating the same information, but That's really where we're at. We're at the search and rescue phase, and when that's done, then we could start the cleanup and the rebuilding. And until we get that all clear, there's not a lot that we can do, and it is uninhabitable right now. It's not a comfortable place to live. I've delivered food and water to people. You could see the distraught in their face. You can see how beat down they are. You can see that they haven't had showers. You can see, but they don't want to leave their home. And I certainly do not blame them for that. I don't blame them. I spoke with a lady yesterday. She's like, our home is still here. We can still live in it. The first floor is gone, but we can still live in our home. I do not want to leave my home.
I get it.
I can't blame her for that.
You know, it's interesting because you hear about FPL and the power sources saying that power is going to be back on October 10th or next week or the end of this week. And they're talking about areas that weren't hit as hard as Fort Myers Beach. Who knows how long there could be power and water and wastewater on Fort Myers Beach. It could be months.
So I'll be meeting tomorrow with FPL to try to get an update, and hopefully I can give you an update on that. But I mean, it's not just, you got to remember our power and everything we've got comes from the mainland, right? Including, the poles, the power that comes on all the way down from Summerlin, all the way down San Carlos, from Walmart, all the way down. Every pole is leaning.
Yeah.
They've got a massive crew working at the hub station that's down by Pine Island or Pine Ridge Road. I mean, they've got, I don't know, probably 20, 30, 40 trucks in there. The crews today I saw were working on straightening the poles.
Cool.
They've got the holes dug out and they're straightening up poles. So it's, even though we have all those trucks and all that FPL working on the island, they're doing prep work to try to get the island ready to be able to receive the power that we still can't receive from the mainland because of the way the poles are and the down lines. So power is going to, I don't want to speak as to how long it's going to be, but it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next week. It's not going to be the week after that. It's going to be a long time. Our biggest concern now is getting the sewer fixed and getting the water on, because you have no sewer. You can really live without water. We got plenty of water coming in. You can use water. You can bathe. You can do all that with the bottled water and the jugs of water that you're getting. But if you don't have sewer, that's a mess.
Yeah.
There's
and it's a health risk.
Just to add to some of the questions, what questions would you ask? Another question, maybe not as important as some of these questions, is should people pay their taxes? Should they pay their property taxes?
Well, I'm certainly not an accountant or a lawyer, so I can't speak to whether you should or you shouldn't. I'd tell you if I would, but that's just me.
Well, how are you going to get the tax bill? There's no mailbox. There's no, so
many
different questions.
All the mail is being held at an off-site location. I don't remember the name. I'll get that for you tomorrow so I can give that to you.
We have it written down. Yep.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's being there. If you can get there, or there's a way that you can set up a PO box. And Megan went and set up a PO box for us, to be able to get your mail, but they are holding your mail. You have to, when you show up, you have to show your ID and then you can get your mail that way. But, so your mail is being held. I'm assuming they're not holding your Amazon packages if you had those coming, but your mail is being held. If you have that information, that's great. If you could push it out to people, that would be fantastic.
So when are you going to get to a spot where you have Wi-Fi so we can have you on screen? So folks love you, man. I mean, even the berating that I've been doing, they love that you come on and you answer the questions. And when you don't know the answer, you say you'll try and get it.
Not only that, Dan, but also, what you're doing for the beach.
Yeah.
As just a person with coordinating donations and running yourself ragged on just filling those basic human needs. I think, people understand that you're doing that and they do appreciate it, but we always want to, say that to you and
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate that. And, I've said for a long time, I love this community. I love the people on it. They welcomed me when I came down in 2012. I didn't know anyone. I knew my friend that lived down here, and she introduced me to a couple people, and it's kind of gone from there. And I grew up in a small town, and then I came down here and it felt like a small town to me. And I just love how everybody, when there is crisis, this is a major one, but any kind of crisis, it's whether you like someone, you hate someone, you love someone, you put that aside, you roll up your sleeves, you get it done, because there's going to be a point where you're going to need a hand and you're going to need help. And I'm a firm believer in karma, and you put good things out there, good things will come back. And I think the more that we can continue to do that with the work that you guys are doing, with the work the volunteers are doing, with the work that my fellow council members are doing, with the work that their town staff is doing, the Lee County, the governor, the president, the federal level, everything's going to come back. You're going to see this community come back. It's going to thrive. We are going to be starting with a blank slate. We don't know what that is. I've gotten a lot of questions about, who's going to be allowed on. There's no preferential treatment. There's no contractors that are, that are going to be able to do work before other people. That, none of that is going on. Not one restaurant's going to get first dibs. I've spoken to several restaurants that want to get back onto the island, whether it's with food trucks, a trailer, to be able to, help in the rebuild, to get people food at first, and then eventually maybe transfer into, selling their food to put their employees back to work. I'm a huge proponent of that idea. I think that's fantastic. If I have my way, I think people that owned a restaurant or a business on the island should get first dibs on being able to do that. I think that's fair. I think that's the right thing to do. So when we get to those points where we have to start making decisions, that's kind of where I will be coming from. That I want to take care of the people that invested their lives, that invested their time, that invested their money to keep people working on the island, to give them the opportunity to be part of the rebuild, to be part of what Fort Myers Beach is now going to be.
All right.
Yes. Well, we need to let you go, and
we appreciate your time. There's always tomorrow, and hopefully new information and updated information. And
one, if I can, Ed,
I
forgot to mention the last day or the other day, for people that may, in this type of situation, people forget a lot. I think myself included. This morning at 4:30, I'm up and I'm remembering all the things that I'm supposed to be doing personally. Paying your bills, canceling your Netflix, canceling, all these things that if you have on recurring payments, that you're not going to be using for a while, whether it's your water bill, whether it's FP&L, which those things should be taken care of automatically, whether it's if you lost your car, contacting your bank, getting a hold of FEMA, getting hold of insurance, all those small little things that we can easily forget about because we're worried about other things. I think it's important to get that out there, that people need to remember you need to take care of that as well. Yes. Just so that all of a sudden you're not getting bombarded if you've lost your job, if you've lost your business, if you've lost your home,
it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and now you have no income coming in. You need those little things add up, and the more that you can. And everyone that I've spoken to today, on a personal level, they've been very helpful. They'll suspend your Comcast for a year. They'll do whatever they need to do because they understand what's going on. So don't forget to do that, and get your FEMA paperwork filled out. There's plenty of people out there that'll help you get that done. You got to get in line, because as we've seen from Michael and Michael and Katrina, it can take years to get this stuff done. So those little things, I think it's important that people remember that you got to get out there and do that to help alleviate the best. A little bit helps.
All right, brother. We appreciate you, and thanks for coming on.
Hopefully
we will check you.
Seeing you, I'm gonna bring down.
We got some stuff, man. We got people dropping stuff off at our house all the time.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Let's put them to work.
All right, man. Dan Allers, everybody, town councilman, Fort Myers Beach. We appreciate him coming on almost every night and doing great things down on the beach. And wanted to remind everybody that we are up to $137,000. I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. That number came out of my mouth. We have raised a ton of money. We're working together with the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation and the Fort Myers Beach Women's Club. They are both 501(c)(3)s, so the money is totally transparent. Everything is transparent. There is a link at the top of our Facebook page that anybody that thinks they're eligible, all you need to be is in the 33931 area code. you a zip code or area code? Zip
Zip
code.
code.
And you go on to the Facebook page and you fill it out. It's a simple thing, but please try, if you don't have your license because it got lost in the storm, try and get your hands on something that proves that you're a resident of the beach, because if you have that information, it's going to be faster for you. It's going to be $500 for you. No questions asked. You apply for it, you get it, and it could be a monthly thing. So get in line right away and get hold of that money. The majority of the money that we're raising is going to be put into that pot with money from the Women's Club and money from the Community Foundation. And Jay and Kylie are doing a benefit concert in Nashville that we're hoping to broadcast live later on in the month. So all of that money is going to be available to you. But the workers from the restaurants, we didn't forget you. We have something in the works for you. We've got all these gift cards that people will have decided. We were talking about people wanted to send clothes down in big boxes, and it could cost a lot of money to ship boxes down. And where are they going to ship it? They could ship it here, but you could ship it down on the beach, and there's nowhere to put it. So if you got a gift card, if you want to give a gift card, just give out our just email me, and I'll tell you where to ship the cards, and we're going to get them out to people. It's so cool to be able to hand those cards off to people, and they feel as if they're so grateful. I mean, it's not a lot, but they're so grateful for it, and we love doing it. So you can use the Venmo, you could use the PayPal, or you could mail the cards. And it's working like a well-oiled machine right now with the Kiwanis and with Dan's Place and with everybody contributing.
Okay. Let these people go.
Thank you all for watching, and we will leave the comments on for a little while. If you have any questions, you can leave them on there, and nobody will answer them because we'll be in bed. So thank you all, and we will be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock for the next fundraising update. We appreciate you all tuning in. Have a nice night. Bye-bye.